Hello, I'm State Representative Mike Tobash. Governor Corbett has just announced his spending priorities for the next budget year. Where is he increasing and where is he cutting? Let's spend 5 minutes discussing the budget with Lieutenant Governor Jim Cawley. Thanks for joining me today.
Good to see you again, Representative.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you being here. There's a lot of concern that I've heard surrounding the cuts in basic education as a result of the lack of funding from our federal stimulus money. Can you tell me something about that?
Well, that's exactly right. You appropriately point out that certainly over the course of the last 8 years, there had been an explosion in spending, not only on the basic ed line, but enterprise-wide across state government. In fact, spending had gone up during the previous administration by 40%. I don't know of anybody's personal spending that went up by 40% in that same amount of time, coupled with the fact that there was only a 25% rise in revenues. It doesn't take a Nobel laureate in economics to know that if you're spending at 40% but your revenues are only 25%, that's unsustainable. One of the ways in which, and I think somewhat cruelly, the previous administration was balancing, in particular, the education line item, was on the back of one-time, or to be accurate, 2 years in a row, federal stimulus dollars. Knowing fully well that it could not be sustained, they were hoping what would happen is they would infuse all this capital and then the legislature and the then governor would be forced to continue it. Well, what we're saying is that if the answer to great public school students is the infusion of more dollars into public schools, then quite frankly, with the amount of money that we're spending in districts like Philadelphia, we ought to be producing Nobel laureates all the time. The simple truth of the matter is there isn't a direct connection between just throwing a bunch of money at the problem and coming to a solution. That's why this budget takes a look at new and innovative ways in which we can approach education.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, we had a federal stimulus package that failed to stimulate, and now we've got to really pay the price for that. As we look through the budget, there's something else that's been of concern, I know, to a lot of my constituents and other people that I've talked to, and that's maybe the lack of cutting on the welfare side of the equation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And that one, too, is one in which we talked about during the campaign, Governor Corbett and I, the runaway freight train of spending. Well, no train was on a faster track than public welfare. And while there is, in fact, an increase in spending, what we've effectively done is we pulled the brake and slowed that train significantly. As a matter of fact, that line item was on track this year to be over $1 billion more than what it is that Governor Corbett recommended in his budget. One of the things, too, that we're finding is because of that reliance on the federal government, there's an all interweaving of different line items that if we cut in one area, it may have unintended consequences in others. We had 6 weeks in which to prepare a budget. So what we did was make the most responsible recommendations that we could, keeping in mind that there is the importance of that safety net for a lot of folks out there, that the working poor, who are holding down 2 and 3 jobs and are just not quite making ends meet. So we didn't want to penalize them. What we in effect did was slow that spending. We've got a great Department of Public Welfare designate secretary in Gary Alexander, who's going to get into that budget entirely, root out all the waste, fraud, and corruption, and put it back on the right track.
Okay, and I guess that's the point. Now the governor has now presented his budget, and it's a starting point. And now the legislature and the Senate have to do their work to make sure that these line items are acceptable and that their districts are well representative, and we get to the hard, difficult work of getting this thing passed. And the will that I've continued to hear from the governor's office, from the legislature and the Senate, is that we're going to get this thing done on time.
It's very important to us that we get it done on time. Both from the governor's perspective as being the attorney general and reliant on a state budget and how it played havoc in his office, and my perspective as a county commissioner, and how the lack of an on-time budget often played havoc with county and local government budgets as well. It's just irresponsible. We've got to make sure that we're accountable to the people that sent us here. And one of the best ways that we're accountable is by doing the people's business on time. It's something that Governor Corbett and I are very committed to. I know you and your House colleagues are, as are the members of the Senate. We're going to work very hard in order to get it done.
Thank you again. The good news is we're here and ready to do the work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any questions or comments on the topic, my contact information will be shown in a moment. I'm State Representative Mike Tobash. Thanks for watching.